Hello, world. It is Wednesday, November 11th, Veterans Day, or in the UK, Armistice Day, Remembrance Day. It's a beautiful sunny day this morning, blue skies now. It wasn't that earlier this morning, it was kind of cloudy. But the temperature has changed dramatically. I think when I went running it was 51, and I think that's the predicted high for today. So fall weather is coming back, although looking at trends, looks like we might be getting some warmer weather again next week. Not quite as warm as this week, but still rather pleasant for November. Today I'm going to be reading again from a devotional from the devotional book, Rise Up, Spirituality for Resistance, written by the Still Speaking writers from the UCC. And the devotion I'll be reading is entitled Exposed, written by Kenneth Samuel. And Kenneth bases the devotion upon Ephesians chapter 5, verse 11 through 12. Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. It is shameful even to mention what the disobedient do in secret. And Kenneth writes, I grew up with a rather unfavorable view of tattletales and snitches. Keep your mouth shut, I was told. What goes on in this house stays in this house. There are certain things that are not allowed to be discussed. But I've come to understand that there is a big difference between confidentiality and cover-up. One protects privacy, the other protects vice. According to philosopher Edmund Burke, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is that good people do nothing. Corruption can thrive only in context of silent acquiescence. Secrecy itself is quite seductive to individuals and institutions. Information is power, and those who have it and control the access to it are powerful. Evil requires that power be limited to only a select few. In the 1960s, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was constantly accused of inciting violence with his civil rights marches. Dr. King responded that his aim was not to incite violence, but to expose the violence imposed upon the oppressed daily through the physical repressions of racial segregation. King saw himself not as an inflictor of wounds, but as an exposer of wounds that had already been inflicted upon the disenfranchised. Exposing evil is risky business, but the greater threat is the deadly silence of those who consistently sacrifice moral conscience on the altar of social order. And Kenneth's prayer. God, there are so many areas where we find delight in the devices of darkness. Give me the courage to turn on the light, even when my eyes have adjusted to the dark. Amen. He kind of brings up some good points in his devotion today. But one of the things that struck me is the need for all of us to have our eyes open and be aware of injustice that's going on and not be afraid to confront it. And that's hard, and I think we might need to have some training or some experience to encourage us on how to confront things that are happening that are wrong, or people doing wrong things, or saying wrong things, or believing wrong things, or repeating lies. We need to find a way to engage with them and get them to think. And that's hard, because I find myself often reluctant to say anything. And I don't know if it's because of fear of my own anger that might erupt if I try to talk to the person and confront them about that, or whether it's just in my nature to avoid conflict. I'm not sure, but I think it's important in this, especially in this time and this day, that we find the courage to speak up in a civil way, but in a forceful way, and stand up for those who are being oppressed. It's especially hard because there's so many people, I think of racism in particular. There's a lot of people who just think that it no longer exists, and they think it's racist to call out racism, and it's not. And it's so insipid that those of us who identify as white can't really ever see it because we don't experience it. We don't know what it's like. But we have to get involved. We have to keep doing something. We have to keep turning the light on and exposing it and then working towards something better. So anyway, I hope you have a good day, and I will talk to you again tomorrow.